The big day is here. It is free agency. It starts in 30 minutes. So let's get you ready with the big news for the Orlando Magic, what's possible, what their plans are, and answer your questions as we prepare to react live to the first moments of free agency. It is June 30th. It is time for Locked On Magic Live.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is June 30th, 2024. It will be July 1st, 2024, the NBA New Year. The calendar flips over, contracts roll over, and we enter a brand new NBA calendar year. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I should put that back up. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to go over everything you need to know to get ready for free agency, which again starts in about 30 minutes if you're watching us live on YouTube. If you're listening to us, you can skip ahead 30 minutes to get to the live reaction to free agency. I'm going to take this time, of course, to answer your questions. I do see your comments there on the YouTube page. I will be getting to those very, very shortly. And prepare to kind of preview what we can expect from the Orlando Magic. Things that may be relevant tomorrow or could be irrelevant here in 30 minutes as well. We're going to get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, I want to thank you all again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether you're watching us live, listening to us first thing in the morning, or whenever you listen to us, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs have wound down, as sports, except for baseball and soccer, go dormant. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus. Daily, that's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. That's what I get for going off script. Obviously, let's just address the elephant in the room first. Last night, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reporting that Paul George, the big fish in free agency, the guy that is potentially the only max free agent who is going to move teams this offseason, will take a meeting with the LA Clippers, the team that holds his rights at the moment, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Orlando Magic. Now, reporting has come out here in the last few hours. I think we can say last few hours that suggests the Philadelphia 76ers are indeed the favorites to land Paul George. And I don't think that's necessarily a surprise. I've had Paul George as a sort of surefire Philadelphia 76er for a while. They have an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid. They have a ton of resources to still add to their roster. They are closer to a championship, or at least more provably closer to a championship than the Orlando Magic. This is not to knock the Orlando Magic. I'm going to come back to them here in a second. But it always felt like the Magic weren't quite ready to fully commit to everything Paul George is. As I said on my previous pods, talking about Paul George, I don't have a basketball reason not to pursue Paul George. There's a lot to say about Paul George. He is still an all-star level player. He is an elite catch and shoot three-point shooter. Would give the Magic that element that they so desperately need. And he gives them the versatility as someone who can attack, can create, can be a scorer in his own right beyond just three-point shooting. That kind of versatility is what the Magic are looking for. Plus, he has the size. Plus, we know he can play some defense. The concerns with Paul George have always been about injuries. He had a healthy season last year, but he has struggled with injuries throughout his career, and age. He is entering his year 34 season. If you sign him to a 4-year deal, he will be 38. This is Paul George going for his last big contract. I have been very skeptical on the Magic pursuing Paul George on two fronts. First, that the Magic would want to commit essentially all of their $50 million in cap room to Paul George, to one player. They have multiple needs on this roster. We're going to address those here in a minute. But the Magic have multiple needs on their roster. I don't think they can fully commit to one player and maintain the depth that has been the hallmark of this team over the last several years. The years are also very concerning. I think the Magic want to maintain some nimbleness, maintain some financial flexibility, while the salary cap is going to increase. We saw that the salary cap numbers come in today, a little bit lower than expected, $140.5 million, $140.5 million salary cap. Next year's cap will jump up to $154. They are anticipating a 10% raise in the salary cap because of the new TV deal. But the Magic will also be paying Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Jaylen Suggs over the next 2 years. I think the Magic want to maintain some financial flexibility. We'll get to some strategies here in our next segment. So as much excitement as there is, and I'll dip into the comments here in a minute. As much excitement as there is about Paul George and the potential of Paul George, I don't think he is the right move for this team at the moment. But that's not the point of all this, is it? That's not the point of the report that came out from Woj yesterday. I think a lot of Magic fans have been potentially excited about the potential of bringing in Paul George. Someone's going to pay him the money. It's who's going to give him the max. Is he going to convince Philadelphia to give him essentially a $200 million deal, $200 million, 4 years? The Magic may not. The point of it is, though, the Magic are in the room. And this is the important thing to think about as we get out into free agency and get out into this transaction window. Jeff Weltman said, I believe he said it after the season. If he didn't say it, he said it Monday before the draft. There are now doors open for the Orlando Magic that have not been open before. There are now conversations this team can have with agents, with free agents, with people around the league that they have not been able to have really in a decade. Think about this. The Orlando Magic had this much cap room last year. They had a ton of cap room last year. And all they could really manage, and the potential, like everyone could see, Paolo Banchero is going to be an all-star very, very soon. This team was the last team eliminated from playoff contention. They were essentially a 500 team from December to the end of the season. Everyone could see this Magic team was coming, and yet the biggest free agent the Magic got was a 2-year, $22 million overpay for Joe Ingles. Now, some of that, I think, was intentional. Some of that, I think, was Jeff Weltman saying, I believe in what we have. I believe in the culture we're building. Let's keep it together. Let's give this team a chance to grow. Let's see what we have before we go out and make moves and adjustments. But now things have changed. Paolo Banchero is an all-star. And the way that he performed in the playoffs, averaging 28 points per game, 3 30-point games in the playoffs, a 34-point outing or 38-point outing in Game 7. The Magic getting to a Game 7 in a first-round playoff series with this young team, that served notice around the league. That told everyone around the league the Magic are ready to win. It opened those doors. It opened the door for the Magic to have this conversation with Paul George, because the Detroit Pistons have just as much cap room as the Magic do. The Detroit Pistons aren't having conversations with anybody. Maybe they'll jump in, splash put a big brown sack with a $sign on it in front of Isaiah Hartenstein and say, please come here. But any player who is serious about winning, no offense to our friends at Locked On Pistons, no one who's serious about winning is going to go visit the Detroit Pistons right now. The Magic may not be the favorites to land Paul George, but they are in the room. And that means every move, and this should be obvious, but every move the Magic make from here on out is about winning. It's about getting this team closer to a championship. Every trade, everything we talk about now is about that goal. I would argue a lot of this offseason is about making the team better. Don't get me wrong. But it's about setting the chessboard for when the Magic don't have this cap room. They have a 2-year window to spend some money. And obviously, you have to spend some money this year to get to 90% of the salary cap so that they can get luxury tax payments and avoid that massive cap hold. The Magic are going to spend this summer. The question is, how aggressive are they going to be? And being in the room with Paul George, having that door open to them, should mean that they are very, very aggressive. This is, as Jeff Weltman loves to tell us, an exciting time to be a Magic fan. It really is. Because while the Magic may not end up signing Paul George, and I'm again, we'll see if I'm lying here in 20 minutes. I am skeptical. I am skeptical that they will give a 4-year deal to Paul George. I'm skeptical that they would give a 4-year max to Paul George. They're not desperate to win a championship. They know their window is open, but not closing on them. I am very skeptical that the Magic would kind of push all their chips in for Paul George at his age, with his injury history, knowing this team's hesitancy to spend, their desire to be financially responsible, their desire to be financially nimble. I don't think this is their all-in move. But also, it's very clear the Magic are in that room, they're in that conversation, and they have to be thinking about those big moves to push this team forward and make them contenders. So, if Paul George isn't the move, what is? We'll talk about some of the other free agency rumors. I'll get to your comments and questions. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Look, summer is not the best time in sports unless you're a big baseball fan. And if you're a big baseball fan, then it is a great time in sports. But NBA's done, NHL's done, NFL is on the horizon, college football is not happening, no college basketball. Summer can be a little bit empty when it comes to a sports fans. But FanDuel has a way to keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you are in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Whether you're betting on futures, like the Magic winning the championship. I believe the Magic have the lowest odds to win the championship among all teams that made the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, especially before free agency. Go hop in and put some money on the Magic. You got WNBA, of course, soccer, big soccer summer going on, and MLB. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. But once you're done with listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. That's going to be your place to go and hear the biggest stories on free agency Sunday from the local experts like me who know what we're talking about when it comes to this team. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news stream 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels that part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That's your team every day. So we are doing a live show. I want to make sure I include you guys here. I want to get that big first statement out. I'm going to talk a little bit more about where the Magic go without Paul George. If they don't get Paul George, what some of the alternative plans might be, because I do think the Magic are going to be working 2, maybe 3 different tracks down here as we think about what the Magic are going to do. So we'll get to that in a minute, but let me get to some of your questions here. As Verum says here, not a day for conservative commentary field today. We think big, my friends. Think big. And look, I 100% agree with this. 100%. The time to think conservatively is pretty much over. Now, I don't think you'd be reckless with this. I don't think that you're reckless and just spending wildly and not thinking about the future. You know, the Magic here, this is kind of the difference here. Philadelphia has to win immediately. Joel Embiid is a ticking clock. You know, he's got his injuries. He's in his prime. The Sixers need to do whatever they can to win a championship this year. To me, Orlando's window is 3 to 5 years. I don't think, realistically, they're probably not winning a championship this year. So the urgency to do something big isn't as great. But having said that, the Magic are in a 2-year window to spend. We've kind of hinted at this. Everything kind of revolves around this a little bit. The Magic have this 2-year window to spend. They have this year. They have next year to spend. Because Franz Wagner, he's going to get a $35 million contract at minimum. His max is around $38 million. I calculated it out to 250 something. I did the math. I can actually look this up here real fast since I did the math already. Franz Wagner will have a max contract that starts at $38.7 million. And I was wrong. His max 5-year deal, if I mathed correctly, is 5 years, $226.7 million. On top of this, Jalen Suggs, I think we can expect to get a contract somewhere in the 28 to 31, maybe $32 million range. So Franz is probably looking at 33 to 36, $37 million contract. Jalen Suggs in that 28 to 32 range. Paolo's max is going to end up being like 42 million on that first year. Don't worry about the raw numbers. More important is the percentage of the cap. $38 million is 25% of next year's projected cap. So this is something that's hanging in the background. And this is why the Magic not only have to spend to hit the salary floor, hit the kind of salary floor this year, they have to spend because this is the chessboard they're going to have when they hit title contention. If this isn't the year to be title contenders, this is kind of, to me, sorry, this is going to sound conservative, Varum. To me, this season is about continuing to establish who you are. It's to repeat what you did this season. Repeat and improve. You want to improve. Don't get me wrong. You want to improve. But the Magic got to prove they can do it all again, that they can be a top defensive team again, that they can kind of take this next step, or that they can say, okay, we are established as a playoff team and we're getting better. That's to me what this season is more about. Now, obviously, you want to get better. If there's a chance to make the conference finals like Indiana did, you do that. This is about establishing your pecking order and about setting the table for those trades that you're going to be able to make when you don't have salary cap room anymore, when you are capped out, when you are dancing with the first apron, when you are maybe dancing with the second apron. And again, that's why I think throwing all your money at Paul George isn't the right idea, but it does mean they should still be aggressive. They should still be aggressive to find needs. It doesn't necessarily have to be a free agent. They can use their cap space in trades. I'd put CJ McCollum on my list. I'd put Anthony Simons on my list. I'd put Darius Garland, I think, has been a name that a lot of people have liked. I'd be calling Washington about Malcolm Brogdon. We will see what the Magic ultimately do. But I do agree, it is a day to think big. It's a day to be aggressive, to fulfill needs and the like. But having said that, I still think the Magic, are in a position where they want to find players that fit their culture and fit their identity. I think, again, like I said, I think this season is as much about hardening the team's identity and culture and place in line as much as it is about getting better. They need to get better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, take a step back to take a deep breath and like reflect on what you did. No. Keep getting better. But I do think it's still about, okay, let's not sacrifice our defense to get a little bit better offensively. That might be why there might be some hesitancy to take Klay Thompson, because he's not the defender he used to be. I still think he's a pretty good defender, and you got Jalen Suggs next to him, so that'll help. But that might be why the Magic aren't as interested in Tyus Jones as a lot of fans were, because Tyus Jones is not a good defender. He's on the small side. It might be why the Magic aren't as interested in Anthony Simons as fans are, because while Simons is an excellent offensive player, he's never been asked to defend a day in his life. So maybe you bring him in here, you have confidence that he will fit the defensive culture with a team that will teach him that defense. And if you believe that, go get Anthony Simons. He'd be a great fit in this team, fits the timeline, relatively priced well at $25 million, around $25 million a year. You know, if you believe that, you go for him. To me, that's kind of where I stand. This has been a question I've gotten a lot here. Mr. Dari C says, can you explain if we will have cap space next season if we wait to extend Franz and Jaylen until next offseason? That question is hard to answer today because we don't know what the Magic are spending now. Could the Magic spend I don't think he'd do this, but let's say they do a 1-year, $35 million deal with Klay Thompson. Let's just say they say, hey, we'll give you 40. Why not? Let's make it even. 1 year, 40 for Klay Thompson. Say, just come here for the money, play a year, and we'll figure things out next summer. That obviously releases $40 million cap hold pending for next summer for the Orlando Magic. And so they would, again, have cap room. They could spin that cap room forward a year. It's hard to predict what cap space will be. The cap is going to increase, or is projected to increase by 10% next season because of the new TV deal. So they'll get a little bit of cap room from that, a little extra cap room from that, regardless. But saying what the cap space is going to be is I don't know. And because we could sit here and say I don't know, that's probably a reason to wait a reason to wait for Franz and Jaylen's extension. The Magic are bringing both back. There is no danger in my mind that either player is going to be gone. The Magic will probably put a contract on the table and say, hey, Franz, here's a 5-year deal starting at $35 million, 8% raises, whole 9 yards. We're going to put it on the table. You could sign it today. We'd be happy to bring you back. Or we can leave it here. We'll keep it on the table here, and we will bring it back next year, and maybe you'll be better, and we'll give you a max. Or it'll still be here. We're not going to decrease it because we believe in you. We just believe that the extra cap room is more valuable at this point. We will see what that looks like after free agency. Once free agency calms down, we get these contract numbers. I will do an episode with the cap space, with what the Magic's offseason finances look like for next year. We will get to that. We will get to that next after free agency calms down. So that is definitely something that's hanging around in the background. I have to take an ad break here, but we will talk a little bit more about free agency. I'll continue taking your questions here. And then the show begins here in 2 minutes. We'll be right back in just a moment. Let me get back to your questions. Janine Richmond asks, what are your realistic free agent targets for the Magic? I think and look, I don't think the Magic would take this meeting if they didn't think they had a real shot at Paul George. Maybe it's posturing. Maybe it's the agent saying something. It does feel like it feels like Paul George's camp is trying to get the Clippers to give him that max and give him the money that he wants. They've been balking at it. There's been reports that both Philadelphia and Orlando would offer the max. If that's the case, if money's equal, I think he picks Philadelphia, to be perfectly honest. I really do think that. I've always thought that from the beginning. That is a more ready-made championship team. I think that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a real option for the Magic. 2-year, $50 million deal, sort of like a juiced-up Joe Ingles contract. At the end of this is going to sound real conservative, and it's one of the reasons I don't love the idea, but I get it. Essentially, to me, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is just a better version of Gary Harris. They took about the same number of 3-pointers. They, KCP shot a better percentage. KCP is a better, bigger defender than Gary Harris is, and I think his defense has been underrated a little bit in this process. But he doesn't move the needle significantly. Essentially, the Magic would be bringing back, the Magic would get better. Like KCP would be a better player. But they'd be essentially the same team as they were last year. So on the continuity front, it feels like that fits what the Magic typically do. I do think he's a realistic target. I think, again, my ideal summer has been add a shooter off the bench, a Gary Trent Jr. or Buddy Hield. I think you could get Buddy Hield very cheap, probably at the mid, less than the mid level, probably at the mid level too, at around $8 million if you wanted to kind of price him at that point. I do think that that's a realistic target. And then on the center front, I've had Jaylen Smith. I've been interested in the idea of Andre Drummond for some reason, even though he's not much of an offensive player. Ultimately, I do think the Magic are going to bring back Goga Bitadze on like a 2-year, $10 million deal. I think they'll pay him a hometown bonus to come back and play that third center role if that's what he wants to do. I haven't looked at the guards, at the kind of deep well of guards, but I think he can wait till the end of the summer on that. Let's go through. Let me go through some of these comments here. So I apologize for that. Can we get in a 3-team deal with NOLA can we get Simons in a 3-team deal with NOLA that involves Wendell Carter Jr.? That is absolutely possible. I kind of joke with people that fake trades are difficult to make anyway. 3-team trades are even more difficult to make. But there is something there. I don't think Portland is as interested in Wendell Carter as they used to be because they drafted Donovan Clingan. They're obviously moving DeAndre Ayton around, perhaps. So DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams both seem very available. I would not touch DeAndre Ayton. I am mildly interested in Robert Williams, but only with a good insurance policy on the third center option. But yeah, I think that's definitely an option. Like I said, I think that Anthony Simons is interesting. It is worth exploring. It is worth discussing. I'm sure it has been discussed. I don't think he is a Magic type player. And again, I think this is a fair criticism because this summer is about risk. What risks are you willing to tolerate? What risks are you willing to make to kind of disrupt and change the chemistry on this team? And I think that part is very underrated about this team's success, is how well everyone liked each other and how invested everyone was, not only in each other, but in the project as a whole. You know, Mo Wagner said this all along. This past season didn't exist just because of what we've done this season. This season existed because of 3 years of work we put together, 3 years of working together. And I think that really meant something. So the Magic have to ask themselves, like, what can we gamble on a little bit here? What can we, maybe say, what can we be worse at to be better at something else? I think Anfernee Simon's defensive questions make it really hard to say, okay, we need to improve our shooting and playmaking. Simons checks those boxes, but are we giving up too much defensively? And I think that's ultimately the question I think that we have. This season is about, this whole project is about Paolo Banchero. The reason why the Magic are in this position is because Paolo Banchero is that dude. And it's really important to remember as we talk about all these free agents, and really, to me, the goal of free agency, the goal of everything right now, is how do we make Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner's especially make their lives easier? To me, that's the most important thing. Emphasize their development, emphasize their growth, give them chances still to explore their games, but how do we make their lives easier? And at the end of the day, like, you add a player like Paul George, great. He elevates this team. He makes this team better. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But the question is, how much better is Paolo Banchero going to be? This team goes as far as Paolo Banchero takes them. Like, all this other stuff is important. It needs to get done. You need to add to this team. You need to get better. But this team is Paolo Banchero. If Paolo Banchero becomes a top 5 player in the league or top 10 player in the league, the Magic are going to be championship contenders. If he plateaus in any way, they're going to be where they're at. If he gets worse in any way, they're going to fall down. This project is about Paolo Banchero. And it's a lot to put on one guy. I hate doing that, but that's the reality of the league. The Mavericks are Luka Doncic. The Pacers are Tyrese Halliburton. The Cavs are Donovan Mitchell. The Heat are Jimmy Butler. The Bucks are Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Sixers are Joel Embiid. The Knicks are Jalen Brunson. The Wolves are Anthony Edwards. The Nuggets are Nikola Jokic. The Thunder are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Lakers are LeBron and AD. The Suns are Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. You can go down the entire list. It's all about the stars. And the Magic have a really good young star in Paolo Banchero. So they're on the right track. They're on the right path. But ultimately, their success and everything else we talk about is about how much better Paolo Banchero gets. And I feel like that is a really important point to talk about. Let's get a draft question in. Payson asks, Philip, do you think De Silva could be this year's Jaime Jaquez? I have actually called him that. I've said, this is a player who is a veteran. Jaime Jaquez stayed at UCLA for all 4 years, very successful run at UCLA. Came in and very much understood immediately what he had to do. Very smart player, very versatile player, kind of a sneaky athlete. I definitely think that there is a comparison between those two players. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone. I think that there is very much a comparison between those two players, both in how they operate and how they kind of approach the game, their experience level, their skill level. I think that's very much a very apt comparison. It was actually one of the reasons I really liked De Silva. It's not just this. I thought I loved his skill set. I think his skills are very translatable to the NBA. I think that he will be able to kind of find a fit with the team as he grows and learns. I love, like, if you can't tell, I really like the pick of Tristan De Silva. I think he's a really, really good player. Checks every box the Magic want. He's kind of what they thought Chuma Okeke was going to be. And Chuma was younger, but De Silva just does everything the Magic like. Again, the Magic's philosophy, and this goes into free agency as well and what the Magic are looking for. The Magic's philosophy is to have players who do everything. They want players to do everything. They want players they want players to be able to play make from odd positions and to be smart on that front. And so this is how the team is built. They want to be big, they want to be athletic, they want to be versatile. And that's what they saw the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics just won the championship playing this kind of versatile style. That's who the Magic want to be. Des10 for greatness asks, Philip, any chance we make a trade for Trey Young? I have always been doubtful of any Magic interest in Trey Young. He is not a good defender. Even if he is a defender who's trying, and I do think he gets a little bit of a bad rap as a defender, he is on the small side. I also think he's just not the kind of point guard the Magic are looking for. The Magic are not looking for a point guard that dominates the ball. They got Paolo Banchero. They love Paolo Banchero. Part of what they're developing Paolo Banchero is he can be a lead playmaker, that he can be a triple-double. I don't think he'll be averaging a triple-double guy, but getting a triple-double should not be rare for Paolo Banchero. Him averaging 5 assists per game in the playoffs, ignore the turnovers for now. That's part of the growing pains. Honestly, I remember watching those turnovers in the playoffs, and for the most part, there are some silly ones in there, but for the most part, I was like, those are turnovers I'm fine Paolo making because he's being aggressive. He's trying to keep others involved. He's trying to read the defense. He's dealing with a lot of stuff there. That's who the Magic want him to grow into. They want Franz to keep increasing his turnovers. They want playmakers at every position. And Trey Young needs the ball in his hands. I think honestly, the Trey Young, DeJounte Murray experience. Trey Young is this generation's Allen Iverson. And he's not Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson's a better player. But I always believe that, Allen Iverson is the system. He is the only player. And you saw when he started to decline, when Denver traded him to Detroit, he couldn't become a role player. He couldn't play with another star or play off someone because Allen Iverson plays one way. And that's not a bad thing. Allen Iverson's all-time great. Love watching Allen Iverson play. Trey Young, one of the great offensive weapons in this league. He makes your offense that much better. But he doesn't play off anybody. Him and DeJounte Murray struggled to kind of find that right balance. And I don't think he would successfully find that balance with Paolo Banchero. I think it would be a real struggle. Like, would the offense be better? Sure. Would they win in the playoffs? That I'm not convinced of. And so the assets it would take to get Trey Young, and it would take a lot because, Atlanta kind of threw out DeJounte Murray. That was their move. They're building around Trey Young. Trey Young is their guy. They're going to stick with him, I think. I just don't think he is a fit for this team in any way, shape, or form. Let's go to here. Stephen Morey asks, what are some theoretical Cam Johnson trade scenarios? You probably saw this come out earlier today. Some reporting connecting the Magic to Cam Johnson. The Nets are entertaining trade offers from several teams, including the Magic for the sweet shooting forward. I will admit, I had trade discussions with Locked On Nets about Cam Johnson. The deal that we had come up with was Wendell Carter, a 2025 second, and a 2026 first, I believe. We might have gone with that weird Suns Wizards pick that the Magic have. So there is a framework for a deal. Like I told him while we were doing the deal, while we were making the negotiations, I can't trade Carter until I know I have Hartenstein. If the Magic do end up signing Isaiah Hartenstein, and I talked a little bit about him on Locked On Magic, or not on Locked On Magic, because this is Locked On Magic. I talked about a little bit on Orlando Magic Daily. Look, Isaiah Hartenstein, really good defender, excellent rebounder, especially great offensive rebounder, a great rim protector. He is kind of the prototypical center we think of. Great rim protector, plays above the rim, tall at 7 foot, big, like all that stuff. My concern with going after Hartenstein is he does not do much offensively besides dump downs and putbacks, which is fine. You can make a living. You can make a living on that. You can absolutely make a living with that. But my issue is his defense significantly better than Wendell Carter's? And the eye test would tell you no. Isaiah Hartenstein is bigger. He is a better rim protector. He's just a bigger body to move. And I do agree that maybe Wendell Carter isn't the answer at center. The Magic might need an above the rim protector like Hartenstein is. But Wendell Carter isn't that much worse statistically. He is worse. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. He is a worse defender. And again, this is where we talk about risk. With Wendell Carter, you have a three-point shooting center. You have a spreadable center. And I think Carter took too many threes. I don't think he dove into the paint. I don't think he worked the paint enough this season. But his ability to make threes is something the Magic need because they're so bereft of shooting elsewhere. Having a stretchable big is really valuable for this team as they are constructed now. If you get me Klay Thompson and Isaiah Hartenstein, maybe my ideas change on that. But with all the uncertainty with the Magic shooting, Franz Wagner getting back up to 35% would go a long way. It's tough. So I've been I think any trade involving the Magic, the market wants them to trade Jonathan Isaac for anything significant. The market wants them to trade Jalen Suggs for anything significant, and the Magic don't want to do that. I think any trade involving the Magic involves Wendell Carter. So if the Magic have a trade in place, if the Magic do have something for Cameron Johnson or for an Anthony Simons or for whoever, that means they got to get Isaiah Hartenstein first. All of it's contingent on signing a starting caliber center like Isaiah Hartenstein. Joel McQueen asks, give AB a chance to prove himself. He's still a rookie. He needs to develop. I know he has potential, so I'm willing to give him a chance to show what he can do at point guard. And I completely agree with this, Joel. One of the more important things the Magic can do this summer or this season is make sure there's a path for Anthony Black as well as Jet Howard to play, or at least to compete for playing time. They both had rookie years. They both learned a lot by watching. AB got some run, showed some promise. Now it's about, okay, let's give him a defined role. Let's give him those Markelle Fultz minutes. Like literally, he's replacing Markelle Fultz. Someone earlier asked, what's Markelle Fultz going to get? It sounds like he's going to get the non-taxpayer MLE, which is about $5 million. So he's probably looking at maybe a 2-year 11 or just straight up 1 year 5 or 1 year 6 to kind of prove that he's healthy and get some playing time. It does feel like there is a little bit of a market for him. But again, we're going to watch some of these big money guys go first before we get to some of the smaller players on the market. But the Magic should absolutely be invested in Anthony Black. If anything, if Orlando is hesitant to go after a point guard, it's probably either A, they don't like the point guards available, or B, they really think Anthony Black's about to make a good sophomore leap, or they think Anthony Black is going to be someone that can help fill that gap and fill that role for this team. I think that is very, very possible. I loved what Anthony Black did last year. I thought that Anthony Black deserved more looks than he did last year. There were definitely stretches where he was better than Markelle Fultz. And Markelle Fultz just has trust. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. AB had his worst game in the worst spot. He played that game against the Knicks, that humongous game back in February that we all thought was like, okay, this is, we're playing New York and Indiana on back-to-back games. This is a playoff test. And we hyped it up as such. And they didn't perform. And I remember watching that game, and Jalen Brunson was just going to town on Anthony Black, and he looked scared. Like he looked like a rookie for the first time all year. And I think he lost a lot of trust with the coaching staff after that. Fair or not, I think they were like, he's not ready. We can't depend on him in these big moments to step in these big moments. Now, if I have a criticism for Jamal Mosley, I don't have much criticism for Jamal Mosley last year, but if I have a criticism for him, I do think he should have been doing more to prep the team for the playoffs. And by that, I mean, play Anthony Black occasionally. Give him, every 5 games, he gets to play Markelle Fultz's minutes. Give him that look. Just kind of dip his toes in the water a little bit. Just keep him fresh, keep him motivated. Same thing with Goga Bitadze, Mo Wagner. Those players were not options in the playoffs because we hadn't seen either of them since February. And so I think planning that out a little bit, especially if the Magic have the kind of depth that we're hoping they're going to have this year, where like all 12 players should play. And again, rookies and young players, getting extra leeway on that. We got to see these guys play because they're big parts of this team's future. I absolutely agree that Anthony Black should get an opportunity. Here's a good one. Daniel Mortensen asking, what do you make of Welt Park's consistent praise of Jet Howard? This is definitely something that I have noted too, that they're really high on Jet Howard. And I don't know if this is them just pumping his ego and saying like, look, he had a great rookie year. Like this is them spinning his rookie year and saying, look, he had a great rookie year. He's looking really good in his workouts. He did everything we asked him to do in the G League. I think some of it is spin to say like, hey, we didn't waste a draft. We didn't waste a lottery pick last year. He did everything we asked him to. But this is not a thing that the Magic typically do. I don't think the Magic usually pump up guys like this. I do think they think Jet made some big strides last year. And the stats were okay, not great in the G League, but he played well. He got his shots up. And again, big thing for me, the Magic can't be 29th in 3-point field goal attempts per game next year. They've got to take more threes. I don't care if they necessarily make a better percentage of threes. They should, but they're 24th in percentage, 15th after the All-Star break, but after January 1st, but they've got to take more threes. And so to me, like you've heard the guys I'm talking about for that bench role, Gary Trent Jr., Buddy Hield, Klay Thompson. The reason I love Klay Thompson is like, give me a guy that's going to take 10 threes. Klay Thompson took, I think it was 34 games of 10 3-point attempts or more last year. The Magic had 11 total of players who took 10 or more threes in a game. They need volume shooters. They need guys who are going to be constant threats from three. And so if Jet Howard is that, and the Magic drafted Jet Howard to be that, we need to see if he can do that. Will he get the opportunity to take 10 threes a game? Probably not, but he's going to be out there to shoot. Like, that's what they want. And like, honestly, Anthony Black is a big story in Summer League. Jet Howard is a huge story in Summer League. I don't know if this is just spin from the Magic's part and to say like, hey, we've got a rookie coming in. His name is Jet Howard because he didn't play for us a ton last year. But it is definitely notable that the Magic are really talking up Jet Howard. I do think that is definitely a thing here. Jay Slim here asking, hey, Phil, what is the chance the Magic trade Wendell Carter? I addressed this a little bit earlier, but I'll repeat it here as well. If the Magic make a trade, Wendell Carter is the trade. That is the most tradable asset on the roster. And so I think that is a thing. That is a thing. I don't think it's necessarily 50-50. If the Magic strike out on Paul George, I think they go to Isaiah Hartenstein next or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope next. If they get Hartenstein, that means Carter's probably gone. So again, I don't know what that means. Jeffrey Cousins with a really good question to ask here because it's the nitty-gritty stuff that we all care about. Will Mac McClung ever wear an Orlando Magic jersey? Do you think his defense has improved in the G League? Mac McClung should be on an NBA roster. At the very least, he should be on a two-way spot. And the Magic right now have all three of their two-way spots open. Trevelin Queen is a restricted free agent. I suspect he will be back on a two-way deal, if not taking one of those last roster spots on the team. If it were me, I would give Mac McClung one of those two-way spots. This wasn't a fantastic rookie class. He was really good for Osceola. I think just to keep him on Osceola and to help Osceola out, giving him that little bit of extra money would help. Again, like point guard we're talking about, he really improved his point guard skills. More than his defense, he really improved his point guard skills. That was super impressive to me. As well. And so I think McClung really made some strides this year. It was really impressive. His three-point shots come such a long way. He's really improved his skills. To me, he should be a two-way guy at a minimum on an NBA roster at most. Like he is someone like, Trevelin Queen, like that dude is a fringe NBA player. Like he should be pretty close to graduating off his two-way contract. He just needs opportunity. Maybe he won't get that here in Orlando, but Mac McClung is like a right there with him. Like I think he's a really good player. I don't know if he'll be on a Magic uniform. I don't know what his plans are. I would like to see him. I would like to see him get a two-way spot. Get rewarded for his good season with a two-way spot. Get an opportunity, get a look with this team, and see what happens there. So that's just something to consider as well. Here is a good question, a cap question. Garrett Scott Haywood asks, Phil, help me understand, how will we afford Franz and Jaylen next summer if we sign a big fish this summer? So this is a cap mechanism. He's probably, you're looking at Tyrese Maxey is the clearest example of this, but essentially under the salary cap, the salary cap is a soft cap, which means you're allowed to go over the cap so long as that you're using an exception. One of the exceptions is called bird rights. The bird rights exception allows you to re-sign your own free agents. So you can always re-sign your own free, unless you're hard capped. You can always re-sign your own free agents to anything. To no matter what, you can always re-sign your own free agents and bring them back. Now, you're always responsible for the luxury tax payments or any consequence of bringing those players back, but you're not restricted from re-signing your own players. So regardless of anything else, the Magic can always re-sign Franz Wagner and Jaylen Suggs because they're under contract for more than 3 years. And so they have full bird rights. Now, there are some technical things to this as well. There's a thing called early bird rights. If you have a player under contract for 2 years, you can re-sign them to, I believe it's 175% of their previous salary. This is why the Knicks can't bring back Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Hartenstein signed a 2-year deal with the Knicks. They've only had him for 2 years, so they only have early bird rights. That would put them at $17.5 million that they can re-sign him and go over the cap. If they sign him to 18, they need cap room to sign him. They can't just say, oh, well, we have 17.5 early bird. Now we have $5 million. No, it doesn't work like that. So that's why Hartenstein's gone. That's why the Knicks can't bring him back. They don't have the cap. They don't have the cap exception to go over the cap to bring him back. And so the Magic, you can always re-sign your own players. The reason why a lot of us are saying the Magic will wait till next summer to bring them back, even if they bring in some big fish, is because in order to re-sign players, you have to have what's called a cap hold. Essentially, the NBA says, well, if you're going to go over the cap to re-sign your own player, you have to pretend for cap purposes that they are under contract for, I think it's 110% of their previous salary or something like that, or for in their case, like 200%, not 200%, like 110% or whatever it is. You can't have a situation, and this did happen for a while. You can't have a situation where a player is coming off of a second-round contract. This happened with Manu Ginobili, I believe. Manu Ginobili signed a second-round contract deal, came off that deal, and the Spurs said, oh, great, we have his bird rights. Let's go sign a big free agent and then give Manu Ginobili a max deal. The NBA didn't want that anymore. So they said, okay, yeah, if you're going to re-sign your own free agents, you have to put on your books this pretender, this placeholder figure of 110% of their salary. So this is important because with Jaylen Suggs is probably going to get paid $35 million or 30, like I said, $28 to $33 million next year. His cap hold is only for $23 million. So essentially, if the Magic sign him today to a new contract, they'd be throwing away $15 million of cap room. That could be really valuable. Franz Wagner is the same deal. He's going to be paid $38 million probably next year. At least, 38 is his max. His cap hold, I believe, is 32. So, $6 million difference may not be a ton. But essentially, this is why you wait. This is why the Sixers waited with Tyrese Maxey. If they signed Tyrese Maxey to a max deal, they would not be able to go after Paul George. They're only able to go after Paul George because Tyrese Maxey agreed to a deal, and none of these deals are signed yet. They're not official till July 7th. So the order you signed them in matters too. It's a weird cap mechanic. But essentially, Tyrese Maxey signed a deal that is going to pay him starting at $35 million. His cap hold is only like 18. So Philadelphia is only right now counting Tyrese Maxey for like $17, $18 million, but they're going to sign him for double that. That's why you wait. That's why you keep your cap room. You keep that flexibility because you can always go over the cap to sign your players as long as that cap hold exists on your books when you sign other players, when you fit them into your cap. You can always use bird rights as an exception, and the Magic hold bird rights on all of those players. I hope that clears that up. I think that's that is something confusing, and the salary cap is only getting more confusing right now because there's new rules under the new CBA. The apron rules are very confusing. We will get to those in due time. The Magic are not worried about apron rules right now, but we will get to those in due time. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Here's a good one. One of the trade options. Paolo and Levine, both Seattle guys, worked out this summer. I'm scared of his contract, but are the Magic front office. Look, the Magic appear, at least by some reports, appear willing to offer a 4-year deal to Paul George. I am very skeptical of that. I don't think the Magic would go with that Zach LaVine deal. To me, that is the desperate move. That is the move of we need to do something. We need to be contenders. We need to take this risk. I don't think the Magic are in the risk-taking business right now. Maybe they need to be. Maybe they need to be a little bit more adventurous. Maybe they need to be a little bit more aggressive. But I don't think that's the aggression the Magic want to take. I think they should be more aggressive than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. But I don't think they should be Zach LaVine aggressive. Because to me, that's desperate. To me, that reeks of desperation. Now, Zach LaVine would help the team. Don't get me wrong. When he is healthy, he is an excellent three-point shooter. I think he's shown that he can be a good defender and be part of good defensive teams. The health is just a major issue, and that contract is only going to get worse. That contract will be less onerous as the cap increases, but that is a bad contract. That is not a contract I would touch. Phil, what are your thoughts on Suggs at point guard? I don't love it. I don't think he's there. I think he can get there. And again, I think ultimately what the Magic envision is Jalen Suggs is Drew Holiday. They just need to find Derek White. Drew Holiday is more of a point guard than Jalen Suggs is, but I think it's still worth trying. I think they want Jalen Suggs to have point guard abilities. I still think they need a true point guard who's comfortable in the role to settle them down and to really, be a point guard. I think they need a point guard. Sorry, the sun is coming right in from my window here. It's that time. I'm skeptical of it, to be perfectly honest. That's just me. I am very skeptical of it. But it is still something I want to explore. I don't want to close the door on it, but I want security on that spot because it was just such a clear need in the playoffs how much the Magic needed a point guard. They needed another creator. They needed another driver. And, Suggs' driving is not what it was his rookie year. His rookie year, he averaged 9 drives per game, according to Second Spectrum. This year, he was at 4 or 5, something like that. It felt like the Magic, and I really appreciate this. I think this was a good decision by them. They really reined in his excesses from his rookie year. So he wasn't driving as much, or he was more selective about when he attacked. Now we need to loosen those reins again and let him drive a little bit more and let him get downhill and get to the basket. And I think that's really the big thing that we're missing from him. Really missing from what the Magic are trying to do. Here, and guess what? Jeff Zillgett coming through with us with some news right at the end of the show. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope leaving the Denver Nuggets and heading to the Orlando Magic. Is that a fake Jeff Zillgett? No, it isn't. Okay, good. Our friend Jeff Zillgett of USA Today reporting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is leaving the Denver Nuggets and headed to the Orlando Magic on a 3-year deal, I am told. This would suggest the Magic are not talking to Paul George or have done talk to Paul George, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, excellent three-point shooter, excellent defender. Like we've kind of said, he is a Gary Harris plus. He's a bigger Gary Harris. He is a better shooter than Gary Harris. He's a better defender than Gary Harris. He is someone that will enhance this team. What they were doing last year, he will make that better. We don't have the details of the contract yet. A 3-year deal, I would suspect if it's a 3-year deal, it is not for that $25 million that we talked, $25 million, or that 2-year 50 that we were talking about. My bet is that this is a little bit more reasonable, maybe on the $18 million range, maybe 19, maybe 3 for 60. I would bet that there's a non-guarantee on that third year, that third year is an option deal. But this is kind of the move we all expected. Very baseline move, very much a guy that enhances what the Magic did last year, gives them a better version of what they had last year without changing too much. I'm a big believer in the Horace Grant theory. Having a guy who's been on championship teams, that has been on very good teams in the past, imparts wisdom to those young teams. I think that's really, really valuable for young teams, especially. So I am not at all shocked that this is what the Magic ultimately did. I'm not shocked that this is where the Magic start. I think that this is, again, a relatively safe move on the Magic's part. But I think this does make the team better. I think this does make the team appreciably better. Someone asking KCP backup or starter next year. Not that one. Sorry. This one. KCP is going to start. You don't sign a guy to a $20 million contract or whatever the case may be. If I were predicting, I don't have the numbers yet. If I were predicting, it would be 3 for 60 or 3 for 61, 62, give him a little extra money somewhere. But my bet is that he's coming in around $20 million. Again, just good trade ballast too in the future. But I'd bet there's a team option or non-guarantee on that third year if I were guessing. And he's going to start. He started for the Nuggets. He is an excellent defender. excellent, really good three-point shooter. Maybe not the greatest, not like a standout spot-up shooter. Spot-up shooting is about the same as Gary Harris. He is a better version of Gary Harris. He will stay healthy. He's been on championship teams. He's a much more aggressive and physical defender. So on that front, he is a better option than Gary Harris. So the Magic do get better here with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I 100% believe this. The question now is what comes next? And here's the number, actually. We actually get the number now. 3 years, 60. Sorry, let's add that to stage. We actually get the number now. 3 years, $66 million deal. So that's $22 million straight. Starting shooting guard, Shams Charania with the number here, 3 years, $66 million. Again, I think this is a fair price. Like I said, I didn't think they were going to get the 2 for $50. I think that this is a good spot. This does make Jaylen Suggs the starting point guard, as many of you are predicting. Whether this means the Magic are done, whether this means the Magic will do more, is certainly a fair question. Again, a lot of people asking here, what do you think this means for the Magic's plans for the rest of free agency? Do we turn to Hartenstein? So let's do some math. Magic paying $22 million for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. If they have about $50 million in cap room, that means they have $38 million left. That would be enough to go after Isaiah Hartenstein. So if that is the plan, they can still offer that 2 for $50 or another 3 for $66. Why not? They can still offer that deal for Isaiah Hartenstein. So my big thing, my thought when the Magic were supposedly chasing Paul George was that I don't think that the Magic should throw their money at one guy. They need multiple players. They need multiple high-end players. So I didn't think they should throw their money at one guy like Paul George. But I think that now, you can go after multiple players. So maybe Hartenstein's still a play. Again, like I've kind of mentioned, I'm looking for some wing help too. I think Gary Trent Jr. would be a play. So you have 38, let's estimate $38 million in cap room left. You could go spend 25 of that on Isaiah Hartenstein if you want. And then you've got 13 left to spend on someone else. So there is still a lot to get to here. Now, I think that this is a fair criticism. Blake Bickerstaff saying he only made 1.63 pointers per game last year. I don't get this. And this was my concern too. So Kentavious Caldwell-Pope essentially, and I did a podcast on this last week. I did a podcast on this last week. In fact, let's play that game. No, I can't. Okay. We're not gonna play that game today. I did a podcast on that last week. I'm actually going to pull it up for you here. You can go here. Let's find it. Where'd you go? Sorry, I'm promoting myself here. Where are you? Case for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I know you're right here somewhere. I don't know where you went. I know I did it. There's the case for against Paul George. Whatever. It's somewhere. It's somewhere in my archive. Sorry. I don't mean to waste time here. But yes, he only made 1.63 pointers per game last year. And my concern with that is that the Nuggets, so the Magic were 29th in the league in 3-point attempts per game last year. The Nuggets were 30th. That was my biggest issue with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. His stats, they won't directly translate to the Magic because they have Nikola Jokic. One of my concerns is that KCP wouldn't give the Magic the shot volume that they probably need from the position. And again, what I think they need is the shot volume. So I share some of your skepticism, but at the very least, KCP is a better version of Gary Harris. Gary Harris was fine. I am a notable Gary Harris defender. Let's try this actually. I am a notable Gary Harris defender. I think that Gary Harris got a bad rap from fans. He's kind of the scapegoat in a lot of ways. He did what was asked of him. And I would always argue that you need to get him more shots because if he's getting the ball, that usually means the Magic are moving the ball well. KCP has the same issue. And that would always be my concern with bringing in a guy like KCP and bringing in a player like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And third-year player option for Caldwell-Pope per Shams. Let's add him to the stage there. Third-year player option for Caldwell-Pope per Shams. So honestly, very player-friendly deal at that point. But KCP, look, at the end of the day, the goal is to get better. Did the Magic get significantly better here? No, I would agree with that. I don't think that they got 100% better with this move. Did they get better today, though? Did they get better adding Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? Absolutely, they did. Absolutely, they got better with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He is a better version of Gary Harris. He fits defensively. He fits their needs offensively. They absolutely got better today with this. So the Magic do only have $28 million. Sorry, I didn't math well. They have $28 million of cap room. They're out on Paul George. Klay Thompson, they're probably out. They're probably been eliminated from that a while ago anyway. So, the Magic did their thing. They did their thing. Clifford Raphael asking, what about Lonnie Walker? I would like him as an end-of-bench guy as well. I think that's a good option. I think he fits what the Magic want to do. But again, that's an end-of-summer guy. We'll get to that as well. Okay, taking minutes away from AB Jet. I don't think so. Honestly, so the Saturday flight says, is he taking minutes away from AB and Jet? To me, that answer is no. To me, that answer is no, because AB is playing Markelle Fultz's minutes. Jet Howard is essentially going to be playing Caleb Houston's minutes, you hope, or kind of sliding in there. KCP is playing Gary Harris's minutes. And you'll probably get a little bit more. So yes, they will take a little bit of time from them, but KCP is gonna help. Like the team got better. Like, is it the giant step forward? No. But the team got better today for sure. I absolutely believe that. And, again, he's been in the playoffs. He's been a champion. He's a 2-time NBA champion, 2020 with the Lakers, 2023 with the Nuggets. He absolutely makes this team better. So I do really, I like this signing. Again, it's not the like runaway home run signing. This is like, we're getting on base, get singles and doubles here. He does make this team better. They're going to look very similar to what they looked like last year, though. That's where the Magic are at. And again, they have $28 million of cap room left to spend. That's going to be a boost for this team. So I like what the Magic did here. I like that. I like the signing overall. We'll dive more into the signing tomorrow. So we'll dive more into the signing on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. I have a Tristan da Silva interview in my back pocket as well. But yes, I am. You could kind of tell I'm running out of steam a little bit here. It's been 2 hours of live broadcasting. Andrew Knable, 100% means Suggs at point. I absolutely agree with this. Again, this is kind of the big question. The Magic are not addressing that point guard role in a meaningful way. One of my drawbacks on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is certainly that he is not a playmaker. He's a good decision maker. Like, he will make good decisions. He's not going to hurt you on that front, but he's not a playmaker. He is going to be a spot up shooter. He's actually a pretty good pull up shooter too. But he is going to make this team better significantly. So the Magic clearly believe Jalen Suggs can develop his point guard skills to the level that they need him to. And that, I think, is ultimately a good thing for the Orlando Magic. So we did get a signing in. We did get that in before we shut down. And I'm glad that we did as well. So, we've gone 2 hours here for us. I will take last questions here in a minute. But I want to thank everyone who joined us here for this live. Hey, look, sorry, I'm responding to comments. KCP signing does not mean there's room left for Paul George. Magic have now, 3 years, $66 million, assuming it's flat. That's $22 million. Magic had about $50 million of cap room. Magic only have $28 million left. Paul George is looking for 50. So Magic are off the board for Paul George. Gary Harris is still not under contract. Gary Harris is a free agent, so they're not worried about that. AL Jr. saying your thumbnail is ominous now. I think we all kind of saw that was the direction the team was going. I tried to be predictive, and when all the Paul George stuff came out yesterday, I was like, I need to change my thumbnail to Paul George to be a little more enticing. But now we know that's what the Magic are doing. Now we know who the Magic have signed. So we'll dive a lot more into Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, what he brings to the Orlando Magic on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic as well. I want to make sure I hit questions here and catch my breath a little bit. Essentially, kind of people are talking about this. This is kind of the Magic standing pat. Orlando Adams, this has been a criticism of the Orlando Magic and Jeff Weltman. If we're okay with standing pat, then we should have just re-signed our guys to cheaper contracts and keep the great team chemistry. That is true, but here's the other problem, Orlando. Teams are required to spend 90% of the cap this year. And if you don't spend 90% of the cap by opening day, if you don't spend 90% of the cap by the beginning of the regular season, then you don't get the luxury tax payments. So all the luxury tax payments are split between the non-tax paying teams. So you don't get the luxury tax payments, and you get a cap hold for the difference to get you to 90%. So they had to spend money. Like, they needed to spend. And Gary Harris, like, again, at the end of the day, did the Magic get better today? Like, this is the question. Did the Magic do the biggest thing? No. But did the Magic get better today? I may have my question about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for the big picture, but yes, the Magic got better today. The Magic 100% got better today. And if that's the biggest takeaway that you can make from all this, I have questions. I have all of that. The Magic got better today. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a better version of Gary Harris at minimum. He is an excellent defender, a much more physical and bigger defender than Gary Harris. He is as good, if not better, of a shooter than Gary Harris. He's been on championship teams before. You know, this is a good signing for Orlando. This is a good player. The Magic got better today. At the end of the day, that's the question you got to ask. And I think they did. Now, there weren't a lot of opportunities in free agency. I've been joking with people all day that if the Magic didn't get Paul George, whoever didn't get Paul George between the Sixers and the Magic, the loser was going to get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. That's the drop-off. And so, yeah, if you expected the Magic to get Paul George, today's disappointing because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is not Paul George. But the Magic did get better today. The question now is what comes next. So I assume the Magic are, they've taken care of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Hopefully they're on the next flight to Eugene, Oregon to meet with Isaiah Hartenstein. That would be the next big move. The Magic have about $28 million of cap room left to spend. The question is, will they spend it on one big player like Isaiah Hartenstein, or will they spend it on several players? Will they look to add some depth, bolster their bench a little bit? That's the next question for the Orlando Magic. That's the next question that this team faces. He's going to help. I want to make that clear. Like, he is going to make this team better. And again, is he going to dramatically make this team better? Probably not. He doesn't solve the big problems on this team. But the Magic still won 47 games last year. Yes, there are issues the team needs to resolve, and KCP helps a little bit with the shooting issue. Not the volume issue, but the shooting issue. But he does make this team better. I want that to be abundantly clear. So we'll see what the Magic end up doing next. We'll see where the Magic go from here. There's definitely a lot to go. And look, he's healthier too. I think that's the part I forgot to mention. Thank you, Shannon Thomas, for mentioning that. He is healthier than Harris. He does all the things Harris does, but does it better. So if you're looking to straight upgrade of a position, the Magic won 47 games last year. It's not like they were a failure last season. Ultimately, the end goal is Paolo Banchero has to be better. Like, if Paolo Banchero gets better, Franz Wagner rebounds with his shooting, Jaylen Suggs continues his improvement. That's going to help the Magic get a lot better too. And so, yes, is this the most exciting signing in the world? No, but KCP makes this team better. And it's going to be really exciting. I'll be really excited to see him play this year. And I think that he will help this team out a ton for, I think he will help this team out a lot. It doesn't solve the big issues. So I get that. I get that it doesn't solve the big issues, the point guard, the playmaking, the setting things up. He helps with shooting. I think he has gravity as a shooter. But he helps. He helps, doesn't solve big issues, but he does help and does help this team improve. There is still obviously a lot more work to do for the Orlando Magic. They are not done, but this is the big signing for this is the big signing for the Orlando Magic, or this is the first signing for the Orlando Magic, at least for this team. And so a lot to break down here over the next thing. And as several people are mentioning, like, KCP was on all defensive team ballots. Let me see if I can pull those up here. NBA all defensive team voting. Let me see if I could pull that up. Here we go. Let's see here. Voting all defensive team. Here we go. So this is another really important point then. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope received 11 all defensive second team votes. I want to repeat that. Like honestly, like let me throw this up here. Let me throw this up here so y'all can see it on the stream. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope received 11 all defensive team votes. You can see him right here, right there. So again, like I know the Magic have a lot of defense, and some people are mentioning names like Magic can still go get Tyus Jones if they want Daniel Caps. If you want Tyus Jones, they can still sign him. He just won't be a starter. Is a Simons deal still an option? It's still an option. He doesn't have a place to start anymore, but yes, it's still an option. They could go get Isaiah Hartenstein if they want. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope checks a lot of boxes for the Magic. Excellent defender, good three-point shooter, good size for first position, selfless player. You know what he's going to give you. He's a better version of Gary Harris. Like at minimum, that's what the Magic have, is a better version of Gary Harris. And so I again, is that worth $22 million a year in this environment? Probably is. Magic down to about $30 million in cap room now. But Magic, their starting lineup set. Starting lineup looks pretty good. I'm not going to deny that. And obviously they still have a lot of work to do. So we got our big signing. We got our big news. If you made it to the end of the show, if you're listening on replay, I appreciate that. Thanks for getting to 2 hours and 15 minutes. I am very much running out of steam. So I'm going to wrap up shop here. We will have a lot more on the Magic signing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Be sure to follow my socials at @PhilipR_OMD, at OMagicDaily for the latest free agent goings-ons here with the Orlando Magic. They're definitely not done. They've still got money to spend. They're still going to spend it. So we will get to all that. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD. If you haven't done so already and enjoyed the show, check out Locked On Magic. You can subscribe wherever you download podcasts, as well as check out the YouTube page, which you're watching right now if you're listening to me live as well. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. I'll break down some thoughts on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope here in a bit too. You can check that out at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Follow us there, of course, at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, including my final player grades, you can check out the Orlando Magic Hub, patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Day 24/7 streaming channel as well for the latest on sports around the world from local experts who know their team best. Okay. That is all I have for for today. You can tell I am running out of steam. Talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes is a lot for me. But the Orlando Magic got better today. I think that honestly, that's the big takeaway. There are still big questions to ask, big questions to see. A lot of it still comes from internal development, but the Orlando Magic did some good work today, or it appears they did some good work today. And we'll see how they move forward from here. But that is it for me. I am tapping out. I wanted to get all the way to 7. I'm here at 7:45. So I appreciate everyone who joined us for this live free agency Palooza show. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and what the signing means. I'll have an episode with Locked On Buffs discussing Tristan da Silva later on in the week as well. It's my birthday week. It's a holiday week as well. So we'll be taking some time as well. I may be back here, and I may be back with a bonus episode later today as well to talk more about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope instead of saving that for tomorrow, but we'll see how I feel. Thanks again, everyone, for joining the live stream. Thanks again for everyone who made it to the end. If you're listening on replay, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. See you again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic. Spare no expenses, people. Peace out.